Let's jump right in. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to challenge a deeply held and, honestly, incredibly common belief in the business world. It's this idea that having absolute mountains of data means you actually know what's going on in your company. I mean, we've all been there, right? Staring at endless dashboards, clicking through tabs, yet somehow still feeling like we're flying completely blind. So, let's figure out what's really going on here. We're going to uncover the hidden friction that's quietly slowing down your growing business. You know that feeling when your company gets harder and harder to steer, even though you're collecting more data than ever before? Well, we're going to unpack exactly why that happens. To do this, we're synthesizing some absolutely brilliant insights from a massive 13-part series by Chakra AI Solutions. We're taking those really powerful lessons and compressing them down to show you why your scaling pains, those frustrating operational bottlenecks you keep hitting, are actually, highly likely, just a visibility problem in disguise. Think about it for a second. When you ask a seemingly simple question, like, hey, how many active customers do we have right now? Why is it that every single department gives you a completely different number? Suddenly, a quick check-in turns into this full-blown detective investigation. Sales pulls a number from the CRM, finance grabs one from accounting, and operations, well, they're looking at a spreadsheet someone slapped together 6 months ago. Sound familiar? To fix this, here is our roadmap for the explainer. We'll start with the information trap, move to why data without connection is noise, explore how visibility is a team problem, see how growth exposes hidden visibility problems, and wrap up with how visibility creates operational clarity. Okay, starting with section 1, the information trap, data without connection. When things feel uncertain, our natural instinct is just to ask for more reports. But honestly, that usually just digs the trap even deeper. Look, your systems aren't actually lying to you. They're just measuring completely different stages of your business process, which leaves you without any sort of unified picture of reality. Your CRM is tracking closed deals, right? Accounting is looking at the first invoices issued. Operations is just tracking who actually started receiving the services. Technically, none of those numbers are wrong, but because they live in these isolated little silos, your leadership team is basically just left guessing. It really boils down to this. Information is just scattered puzzle pieces. Visibility, on the other hand, is what actually connects them into a picture you can use. You don't have a data shortage, you have a connection shortage. Without that connection, having 1,000 puzzle pieces spread all over a table doesn't do you any good if you have no idea what the final image is supposed to look like. Moving right along to section 2, data without connection is noise, the Friday nightmare. Let's look at how this lack of connection creates this terrible, recurring ritual that almost every growing business accidentally invents. Oh man, I am sure you know this one, the painful ritual of the 3-hour Friday afternoon report. Someone literally has to export data from 3 different systems, paste it into a master spreadsheet, try to reconcile all the conflicting numbers, fix the formatting, and then finally hit send. It is just an immense amount of manual effort. But here's the kicker. The moment that report is finished, reality has already moved on. New invoices get paid, deals close over the weekend. By Monday morning, your spreadsheet masterpiece is basically a historical artifact. You're spending hours assembling reality instead of actually acting on it. Which brings us to section 3. Visibility is a team problem, the human cost. Because this lack of connection isn't just an annoyance for the higher-ups. It has a very real, direct human cost on your team's performance. Think about it like this. Imagine watching a football game where the scoreboard is completely blank. The players are running plays, they're tackling hard, sweating it out, but they have absolutely zero idea if they're winning or losing. If your team can't see how success is measured, they naturally just default to tracking their activity instead of their actual performance. When a business operates like this, people just focus on looking busy, mainly because motion becomes literally the only thing they can measure. And here's why that matters so much. Accountability isn't a culture issue, it's a visibility issue. When people can't clearly see the outcomes of their work, it is virtually impossible for them to take ownership of it. We all love to talk about building a culture of accountability, right? But accountability isn't just a mindset. It requires shared definitions and measurable outcomes. If the score isn't visible to everyone, accountability conversations just devolve into emotional debates about who worked the hardest. The result, without shared visibility, your critical operations meetings turn into exhausting investigations about whose data is correct rather than actual strategy sessions. You get all your most expensive, talented leaders in a single room, and instead of deciding what to do about reality, they spend the entire time arguing over what reality actually is. Honestly, that is a massive hidden tax on your company's speed and agility. Let's transition to Section 4. Growth exposes hidden visibility problems, the breaking point. Let's explore what happens when you try to scale a business on top of this really fragile foundation. This is where the wheels truly start to wobble. In the early days, the founder's proximity kind of hid all the visibility gaps. They knew every single customer, every employee, every project. But as complexity scales, that reliance becomes an incredibly expensive bottleneck. Suddenly, the entire organization can only move as fast as the founder can personally connect the dots. The business has basically outgrown personal visibility, but it hasn't yet built operational visibility. So you might feel like the business is slowing down. But if you look at the dynamics here, your operational complexity and your visibility blind spots are completely outpacing your revenue growth. You're actually just losing direct access to what's happening on the ground. The business isn't necessarily performing worse. It's just become incredibly hard to see. It's absolutely crucial to understand that growth doesn't create visibility problems. It simply exposes them. Growth removes that safety net of proximity, exposing the harsh reality that your organization just doesn't have the systems to understand itself at scale. Those fragmented systems and those Friday spreadsheet workarounds, they were always there. But when you only had 10 employees, you could just shout across the room to clear up the confusion. At 50 or 100 employees, those exact same workarounds become structural failures. Finally, let's look at the solution in Section 5. Visibility creates operational clarity, the connected picture. This is how we build true visibility infrastructure to save your time, your momentum, and honestly, your sanity. When your teams actually share a common understanding of reality, coordination improves naturally, accountability becomes totally objective, and your decision-making accelerates. True visibility means that when someone asks a question, the answer doesn't depend on which software platform they happen to open first. The whole organization is operating from a single connected picture. And here's a real game changer. You'll start to realize that your team wasn't rejecting new software tools because of the tech itself. They were rejecting them because those tools lacked a clear connection to organizational clarity. People will absolutely use systems when they understand why their participation matters and when they can actually see how their data entry directly translates into a clearer scoreboard for the whole team. So, I want to leave you with this provocative thought. Having gigabytes of data sitting in different silos means absolutely nothing if your team doesn't have a shared understanding of what that data actually means. Data is just the raw input, right? Operational clarity is the connected outcome you actually need to drive real performance. If you are tired of the Friday spreadsheet nightmares and you want to finally bridge your visibility gap based on the brilliant insights we've synthesized from Chakra AI Solutions today, your next step is simple. Take the Operational Clarity Assessment. Stop relying on those scattered puzzle pieces and start building the connected picture your business desperately needs. So, ask yourself as you log back into work today, are you merely operating on data or are you truly operating with clarity?